And welcome everyone to the Shitlord Preachers podcast. This is episode 48.
Yeehaw!
We are getting there, Brooke. So thank you everyone for joining us today on the show. If this is your first time joining us today, the Shitlord Preachers is basically where my friend here, Brook Potter, who's in the UK, and myself here in Minnesota. Basically, we've known each other a few years. We both used to be former preachers, now reformed shitlords. We basically come on here, talk about all sorts of stuff, from mainly commentary on social, cultural, and political things, pretty much anything in between there. So how's it going today, Brooke?
I'm freezing my fucking balls off, Amos. It's cold. I thought we were in spring, and this country fucking lied to me, bro. And anybody who might be watching us on the live stream, you might notice that I am missing my soup catcher, or my beard. For those of you who don't speak Firefly, yes. So as parts of my self care, and I think everybody should have some kind of routine. I do a facial at least once a year. And this year I scheduled it what was supposed to be spring, figuring, right, the cold is over, we're going into the summer, I'm going to shave the beard, do my facial, and then I can start growing it back for, through the summer into the winter, and I'll have my facial hair back. And this country lied stink. I got my facial, but oh my God, it is absolutely nut-bustingly cold out here. It's ridiculous, Amos.
You're just using all those words, aren't you? Yeah, no, it's the same thing over here.
Speaking of nutbusters, no, just kidding.
Well, no, we're talking. No, funny thing over here with the snow. Yeah, because you heard. I think I told you we had snow. So here comes our spring. Monday, so almost 7 days ago. It was in Fahrenheit for our listeners. It was 70 degrees out and sunny and sunshine. The grass was starting to green. It was nice out. Like, I was out in flip flops and t-shirts.
The squirrels were banging, and nature was taking its course. The ducks were going at it.
Exactly. And then that evening, there's some people posting, "Hey, there's apparently supposed to be a blizzard on Wednesday," and I'm like, the fuck is this bullshit? So I'm like, no. That's got to be like some just crazy prediction.
That must be another Minnesota.
Yeah, so that I wake up Wednesday morning and it's just covered outside.
No.
Like a good 6 inches dumped, and then another 6 inches over the next day or two.
And you checked it by sticking your dick in it?
No. None of that happened.
No, dude. Don't you have any good dick stories, Amos? No, I'm just teasing.
No, so yeah, we got dumped on with snow, and here's the crazy part.
Yes.
It wasn't your typical white snow. It was a slight hint of brown dirt in it. It was
okay. London snow.
It was Texas dust mixed into the snow.
Okay. They have like the plains out in Texas that catch the breeze, and
basically it was clay. It was dry clay just mixed into whatever weather system it was and pulled snow up to here. Excuse me. And there we were, a whole foot of snow. So now, I mean, it's melting pretty fast, but there was a Facebook post I saw, which is pretty funny, which basically said, only in Minnesota can the monthly tornado drill be canceled because of a blizzard during a flood. Because so for the listeners, we have a tornado drill. It's the first Wednesday of every month. At 1 in the afternoon, the sirens go off in all the towns as a test. A lot of my listeners probably know this. They have something similar in certain towns. The Midwest, Tornado Alley, has a lot of this. And the drill was canceled because of the blizzard, which makes sense because you don't really get a tornado during a blizzard. In the spring, when it wasn't supposed to be snowing. And flooding is referring to the flooding we get due to the basically the rivers and lakes trying to catch up with all of the snow melting. All the water that, as a result of snow melting, results in a lot of flooding, especially in a lot of the river valleys along Minnesota. River valleys or just low areas with lakes around it. Part of some of my jobs that I've worked, I've had to drive through some of these river valleys, and sometimes the roads could get closed due to the flooding, or it's just you're driving down a road and the blacktop is like 2 inches above the water. And you're just driving, and to your left and right, if you're off the road, you're in the water. There's no real shoulder anymore. So, excuse me, that's kind of what's been going on. Plus, it's very typical of Minnesota. Minnesota weather is like a woman for a lot of people. One moment it's sunshine and bird singing
and unicorn farts.
Exactly. And then the next moment it is a thunderstorm with, trees getting blown up and
with the
hail.
Little critters from South Park.
Exactly. And then hail. Hail the size, volleyball size hail. That has actually happened in Minnesota.
Wow. We actually had some hail as well. Not that big, but we had like the small ones. That was pretty wild. And that should have been my first clue not to cut my beard when it hailed. And I was like, oh no, that's just a fluke, man. It's not gonna get cold. Boy, was I wrong. But speaking of cold, have you seen the new Star Wars trailer for Episode 9?
Oh my god. So freaking it just what was it? So I saw a meme, like, Star Wars movies they always show the movie. It's like it says Star Wars, like in that font they have, and then in between the word Star and Wars, they have the title.
Yes.
So someone posted it, said Star Wars, Lando, remember that guy? He's in here.
Yeah.
Palpatine, remember that guy? He's in here too. And oh yeah, you remember this thing? Yeah, we got that in there too. God damn, we're desperate, or something like that, because that's what happened.
We fucked up big time.
Oh yeah, it's just like, oh fucking A, we're desperate to get people to watch them. It's pretty much The Force Awakens again.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I'm actually going to go and see this round. You saw the last one. You saw The Last Jedi.
Kind of.
All right, I saw it. Now, for me, like I'm not the biggest Star Wars fan. Like I'm a fan, but I'm not one of those uber fans. I don't speak Wookiee and all this other stuff, right? But yeah, okay. The first trilogy was classic, timeless. The prequels, I really didn't understand what the hell was going on for a lot of it, and then it kind of it was all right. When The Force Awakens came out, I was like, yeah, it's all right. It's basically a reshoot of A New Hope, episode 4. It was kind of like retelling that story almost frame for frame. So I was kind of, I wasn't impressed. And then I saw The Last Jedi, and I was like, what the fuck is this? Now, as a standalone movie, like if it was not connected to the Star Wars universe and the canon, I'd be like, yeah, okay, this is a fun space movie. It's not great, but but because of the canon and what they, basically they shit all over Luke. They Mary Poppins, Princess Leia. Again, this nobody gives a shit about Rey. Nobody gives a shit about Poe or whatever these guys' name is. I don't even know the new characters, and I don't care. Right? The whole reason I was excited for The Force Awakens was to see Luke, Leia, and Solo with Chewie in the Millennium Falcon again on an adventure. That's what I wanted to see. And Disney fucked it up the ass with a horse cock. I mean, like, they didn't even get the three of them together at any point. Like, really, right? Because, I mean, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it, God bless you. But if you haven't seen it, Han Solo dies in The Force Awakens.
Which is right? Like, what? Why?
Yeah, and it's a bitch move. It's such a bitch move, right? He's killed by his son and all this. It's like, why? What's the purpose of that? And then we assume, we don't actually know, but Luke apparently dies in the second one, where he levitates and kind of vanishes into the whatever the fuck is going on. Who knows what that's at?
I guess he kind of dies like Yoda did.
Right. So we assume that's a death, right? I'm going to take it that Luke has died. And ironically, Carrie Fisher, who plays Princess Leia, she's dead in real life. So I'm not exactly sure how they're going. They're probably going to reduce her role in the last movie, evidently. So the one thing that the fans wanted to see, like to get the band back together again, they totally fucked. Like there's nobody left that I care about to actually make me spend money to go and see this movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw the trailer and I was just like, I honestly didn't see where and why, and then it wasn't.
There's nothing in it. I mean,
yeah,
to see Lando might be cool, but like really, I'm not going to spend money to go and see. I mean, Lando was it Calrissian or whatever it is?
Yeah. Just remember, he's pansexual, everyone.
Right. And they've already fucked him up the ass with a robot dick in Solo.
Yeah.
Right. A Soilo story, a Soylent story.
Story.
Did you see Solo?
No, I did not.
I did not
It's available on Netflix, and I don't care. Yeah, exactly. I'm just like, there it is. Guess I'll watch The Fifth Element or something like
that. now, just on a side, I mean, we could discuss this a little bit. What do you suppose went wrong? Like, I've given my synopsis. I think they didn't respect the fans. Kathleen Kennedy, who is the woman running Lucasfilms, is a complete feminist SJW.
Mm-hmm.
And she came out with these T-shirts, the Force is female. I mean, just like hard.
What?
Yeah, oh man, you have been following the controversy, man. But yeah, she put out these T-shirts, the Force is female, and the whole thing. And she has no idea. I mean, I don't know much of her work, to be fair, but she has no idea how to respect the canon, and she has no respect for the fans.
Right.
And that's my sentiment. Is basically they got J.J. Abrams to do The Force Awakens, and okay, it wasn't impressive. I thought it was a remake of New Hope. They brought in Ryan Johnson. Is it Ryan Stone or Ryan Johnson? I can't remember. Did the second one, and he shit all over J.J. Abrams. So they introduced like the Snoke's character as like the Sith master in the thing, and then he dies in the second one. It's like, what the, like, why? What's the purpose of this?
Yeah, and he died in a very stupid way too.
He did in the most ridiculous of ways, and the show was just garbage. And I lay it completely at the feet of Kathleen Kennedy, and this disrespect to the fans and this disrespect to the canon. But let me hear your views. What do you think happened?
I mean, it's you're kind of shitting on George Lucas's legacy. I mean, yeah, he's still around, right? Yeah, he's still around.
Yeah, he's still around.
Excuse me, but the way he's written out the story, I mean, the fans just started to really kind of appreciate and respect even the prequels a bit. Like, sure. Hey, yeah, okay, the story ties in, and it's not, it's. I mean, you pretty much have like most entertaining or sort of what most honors the storyline is. You kind of have the original trilogy, and then you have the prequels below that, and then you just have like scattered among like on the floor is just the rest of the movies. Like Rogue One is the one that looks remotely okay, and then the rest are just like scattered puzzle pieces that don't quite fit with each other.
Correct. Rogue One, I mean, it wasn't great, but I enjoyed it. It was all right. It was
Rogue One actually, like if they made the movies like Rogue One or a little bit better than Rogue One, in terms of over entertainment value and just kind of a nice little way to kind of tie into some canon and such, it would have been it would have been at least salvageable, kind of like kind of like a here we are pumping out some movies that it's going to get the fans on the nostalgia train. People are going to enjoy it a bit, and they're going to go, oh, okay, that was kind of nice. But they're not going to feel disrespected and just, and it's not going to look like, I mean, blatantly look like Lucas had absolutely nothing to do with these movies. I mean, he probably had something to do, but it's just looking like it's just none of his vision was. Yeah, his vision is just gone. Like, I mean, I'm going to have the fans, the real like fans that maybe are more beyond the movies, they're gonna enjoy the freaking video games better than these movies.
Or I think there are a couple animated series.
The animated series are even like,
well.
because they can. That's a lot more. The vision with that is, I'm guessing it's just got to be just a smaller crew, and they can play it around with it a bit more to be fitting to the story. Whereas the movies, it becomes this ego project almost. Someone wants to go, let's really virtue signal in this one. Let's really throw in some crazy things that make zero sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
we got somebody in the chat that's like, yeah, we peak Clown World. Have you been following the Clown World meme? Pepe the Clown.
Well, I know that honk honk.
Yeah.
Ooh, white supremacists, everyone.
Yeah. And
that's the thing now. It's
yeah, it's I mean, it's total garbage at the end of the day, what they have done to the franchise. And I think for the most, I mean, I think the movie will do well because there's just enough, people out there that, it's probably not going to do as well as the others. But the truth is, nobody really cares about these characters that remain. I mean, I don't know. Do you even remember the characters?
Oh, from the new Star Wars movies?
Yeah, from the new series of Star Wars. I know. Rey. I remember Rey. Right, she's the Mary Sue.
Poe.
Poe Dameron. Don't know. I mean, he's just a pilot. What's the stormtrooper's name again? Flynn. No, Finn. Finn. And what was the Asian?
Don't remember her name. Kylo Ren.
Right, he's the baddie, the grandson.
All the original characters.
Right, well, we know the original characters. Tuco is her name, or something like that. Is the chick. Oh, anyway. I mean, it's just, she had like one, no, she didn't even have one real good, because there was so much wasting of time in the last movie. When they went on that excursion to try and get something, and they did the whole animal rights nonsense with the big floppy Chihuahua dog things or whatever. And none of that worked out. And then you had the feminist blue-haired woman like sacrificing herself. And it's just like, what the hell is going on? You had like 20 minutes of no point in the entire story.
Yeah. Someone was trying to, we'll just say last night I was in a conversation with someone and we talked about movies. And it's kind of like The Hobbit. They were telling me, well, you like The Lord of the Rings? I said, yeah, Lord of the Rings was great, the Fellowship and all this stuff. And I said, yeah, but The Hobbit sucked. Yeah. And they were really surprised. And I was like, because it was one book and you had to stretch it out to 3 movies.
Yes.
Every one of the Hobbit movies that I watched in theaters, I fell asleep halfway through.
Really?
I rarely fall asleep during a movie.
I think they could have done it in 2 movies if they really had to. 3 was really unnecessary. I agree.
I mean, if you've read any amount or at least seen how thick the original Lord of the Rings books are.
Yeah.
You could see like, oh yeah, they could have maybe like made 6 movies.
Yeah, I mean, if you really want to get convoluted, you can possibly pull that out.
Yeah, but while maintaining some, a decent amount of entertainment value. But it's really good that they kept it at 2, at 3, 2 and at 2-hour 45-minute movies.
Yeah. I think they could have done it in 2,
which is pretty good. I mean, it was still, I see it as one of the best trilogies, at least in my lifetime, for movies. I mean, 11 Academy Awards for Return of the King?
Yeah. No, I completely agree. The Lord of the Rings. I was so impressed with it when the last one came out. I actually bought the extended version, and these are like 3-hour plus cuts, and I watched them all. It's just like,
what do they add in? Just like
extra scenes and just long. There's a lot of visual material that has been cut for the cinematic run. And so these cuts were over 3 hours long for all 3 movies, and I actually sat and watched all 3.
Yeah. Now, now, what about? You've got to be excited about Avengers Endgame.
Yes. Yes, I am very, very excited for Avengers Endgame. Now, I told you I watched Captain Marvel, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right, and I watched it in not a cinema, on a probably not legal platform. And I was so bored out of my mind, I was kind of doing work in the background while I was playing because I just it's whatever. And anyway, so when does Avengers Endgame come out? That comes out April 20.
26 for us. I don't know what it is for you guys.
I think we're just ahead of you. I think we're like a day ahead of you.
Because it says the 26th on all the posters.
Yeah.
But here in my area, I typed in to look up showtimes, and it was giving me like, oh yeah, it comes out because the 26th is a Friday, but they have like evening showings of the Thursday, so the 25th. So I can go 6 at night on Thursday to go watch this if I wanted to at some theaters. So I'm pretty tempted to go do that. But we'll have to see how it all works out. But
and it's a 3-hour long cut, am I right?
just about. I mean, that's probably including credits. So no, I mean, it's still approaching 3 hours.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, are you doing anything for that? Is it like a crew of guys going to go and watch the movie or something like that?
I actually don't know.
You should look into that. I think like I've got a crew of people here. We're probably all going to go and watch it. Yeah. I also still want to see the other stuff. I haven't seen. I want to see Shazam, and I want to see the new Hellboy.
Shazam, I heard, is really good. It's
I mean, I heard it's fun. It's not great, but it's fun for kids.
It's like a good. They're saying that. I mean, they're saying they basically tapped into a little bit of So the joke is, Endgame is trying to play the dark, gritty movie like the just like the DC movies have been doing.
Right. Like The Dark Knight.
Yeah, versus, and then Shazam went the Marvel route, with the comedy and more lighthearted, like, kind of stuff.
Right.
So,
yeah, exactly.
But anyways, yeah, it's just so yeah, I'll definitely want to check out. I mean, Shazam, I'm not too attracted to just because it's. I mean, it sounds fun, so I'll probably just go check it out anyways. But something about it just didn't quite catch my attention. I was never in, like, the Shazam character wasn't really big for me.
I agree.
All I remember really about Shazam is the fact that he could go toe to toe in a lot of cases with Superman.
Yes.
And depending upon the scenario, he could beat him up because Superman's weakness was magic. And Shazam was all about that. So Shazam was kind of the magic Superman.
Yeah.
The magic Superman.
Yeah, no, pretty much. I like you. I mean, I'd like to say I'm a DC fan. I mean, I do love the Marvel movies, but I'd always had an affinity for DC. The Batman and Superman and stuff like that. I mean, I was there watching the Batman when I was like back in the 1980s with Michael Keaton, and they used to have the really bad kids television cartoon with, when they were fighting, it's like pow, bam, really cartoony stuff with Adam West as Batman. So I grew up on that. You didn't really get a lot of Marvel stuff and stuff. So I think I have a closer affinity for DC. Like, I loved the Justice League, and then the Justice League Unlimited. These are the animated series. The DC movies have been fantastic. The animated movies that they've come out with have been fantastic. So they've definitely, and even the TV runs of The Flash, Green Arrow, Legends of Tomorrow. I mean, they've just added Supergirl. I'm not a big fan of what they've done with Supergirl past season 1, but I've always had I connected with these characters more. Right. Do love the Marvel movies, absolutely, on all of this. So I'm definitely excited. And I think it's just because I have that affinity for DC, that's probably why I want to go and see Shazam. It's just kind of a loyalty thing to the brand.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, which is odd because I didn't go and see Suicide Squad, but I don't know.
Suicide Squad was all right. It was this whole ragtag group of anti-heroes basically. Excuse me, but yeah, something about it just DC's decent at best.
Sure. The movies are not great. I quite liked Aquaman. Did you see Aquaman?
I haven't seen Aquaman, and I still haven't seen Justice League. I don't know. They just didn't really attract my attention that much.
Yeah, that's fair. Justice League wasn't that good. It was lukewarm at best. Wonder Woman was phenomenal.
I heard that was good. Yeah.
Yeah, that is definitely a fantastic movie. And I enjoyed Aquaman. I don't know if maybe it's just because I've always had a thing for like oceans and like deep sea and the myth of Atlantis and stuff. I've always kind of liked that kind of thing. But yeah, Jason Momoa, he played it so well. He really, really did. So I would say watch it and we could probably discuss it, get your thoughts on that next time.
Yeah, definitely have to look that up then. But yeah, I mean, it's I found this out, and then call me, I'm probably a bit of a softie for having this kind of feeling, but when I was watching all the trailers for Endgame that's coming out, I've learned, I guess I have a bit of a soft spot, you could say, for like any sort of movie or show or something that sort of depicts some sort of like heroic triumph.
Right.
Just the fact that they're all like, the whole, whatever it takes and all this stuff, and they're just everything is kind of I've been watching like a lot of compilations. People are editing some really good footage, just basically all the movies. Kind of, it's basically telling a story of like all of them kind of coming into the scene, you learning about all the heroes, and then just all the things they go through leading into Infinity War, and then into, of course, the Endgame movie. And I'm just like, what, like tearing up just a little bit.
Right.
Kind of like, because it just seemed, because I mean, think of this though. The Marvel Cinematic Universe, the whole thing they've been doing, what is it, since 2008 with Iron Man?
Yes.
All the way to what it is now, and even what it's going to be after this movie. No one, as far as I have seen, has ever done anything so huge in terms of such a large universe, all woven together fairly well. I mean, I haven't seen too many videos like, oh, here's the inconsistencies in the timeline. Like, no, it's all been very much woven together very, very well between what, like, we're going to be approaching 20 some odd movies at some point here, all tied together by one story, one canon. Granted, it's not exact to the comic books, but it's forming its own storyline that it is a separate, you have the MCU versus the Marvel comic universe kind of thing.
Yes. And I mean, there have been some fuck ups, right? Like for instance, in Thor: The Dark World, they go into the vault, and in the vault is the Infinity Gauntlet with the supposed Infinity Stones, right?
On it?
Yes, and then they fixed it in Thor Ragnarok when Hela goes into the vault. She sees the glove and she hits it and says "fake." Right, but she did that. They did that on purpose because they fucked it up and put it in the vault to begin with.
Oh,
yeah. So there are a couple. They got lucky because the fans have been phenomenal. I mean, they're really analyzing every little piece of data and they're going through everything screen by screen. I think because I think when they did the Hulk movie, somebody spotted Thor falling to Earth in the background in one of the scenes. So there was like a big thunderstorm, and somebody broke it down, and you could actually like pinpoint that this was Thor falling to Earth in the background of one of. I think it might have been either early Iron Man or early. I think it was Hulk for some reason. But anyway, some of it has been lucky.
Really?
Yeah, some of it they just got lucky because they really didn't have the overarching story arc until after the first, I guess, the end of phase 1, when they started going into phase 2. Then
Yeah,
they kind of plotted it out, and yeah,
they
that's where it went.
probably had an idea, and they were like, "Okay, let's try to follow this somewhat before we get in too much trouble here." But yeah, it's once I started to really see that, and I thought, "Wow, cool, the Avengers." I figured just the way they played it out, yeah, the Avengers, yeah, that's about it.
Mhm.
One big movie tying in all these heroes. That was like huge already. I remember when I saw like the end credits sort of trailer. They basically, coming, in 2 years or something, the Avengers, and I'm like, well, seeing this, I'm like, whoa, like that's a big thing. All the
Yeah,
heroes in the same place. That's
the
that's
first
kind of a
time, yeah, they
yeah.
did
And
that.
I was like, what? I mean, everyone was talking about it in the theater, and then and then we're gonna do it again, and then again,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
and then of
No, it
course,
was great.
yeah, and then now they're gonna do it what seems to be the last time. I mean, Robert Downey Jr. is going to be, this is his last movie as Iron Man, is what I'm
Right.
hearing. I don't know who else. There's talk that it's going to be the last one with Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man.
Yeah.
They don't know what else they're going to do after that. If maybe he passes it on to someone else, we don't know. And then there's even talk that Captain America might die.
I think that is likely because what's the actor's name that plays Captain America?
Chris Evans.
Chris Evans. He's been quite vocal about he's tired of the role, and he's really kind of looking to move on. So I
Really?
think, yeah, he's been quite vocal about that. So I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of these characters do die, because the MCU going forward, and this is actually kind of an investor pitch as well, because Disney has done really well over the last week. It's gone up like 10% on the heels of Marvel as well as Star Wars. But I think people are kind of going to give it a break after Endgame. I think people are kind of, they're holding out to the last. But going forward, especially if you've lost kind of like the original characters, I don't think they have any characters now that are really going to pull it forward.
I mean, there's always this talk about like a Black Widow solo movie.
Sure.
And of course, coming in the summer, you're going to have the Spider-Man movie.
Right. Far From Home.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I was wondering like how they're going to tie that. I don't know if that's they're probably, I mean, by releasing that, they're probably already presuming that, yes, they bring Spider-Man back to life. Or it's like another storyline woven in there somewhere.
Yeah. It could be like pre-Endgame time frame sort of thing. But yeah, so if you lose the original cast, you're left with they want to go forward with Spider-Man, Captain Marvel, Guardians of the Galaxy, Doctor Strange.
Yeah,
and
because
Black
there's supposed to
Panther.
be a second Doctor Strange, and there's supposed to be a second Black Panther movie.
Yeah. So whatever the next phase is, I guess that's phase 4. It's going to be more intergalactic and it's more interdimensional. So it's going to be exploring the quantum realm. It's going to be exploring off-world and the parallel realities of Doctor Strange. So it's going to be more kind of space opera type of thing, which is fine. But I don't think that has the allure to really keep the fan base going.
Like
Into the next.
another alien or some sort of threat on Earth that the Avengers need to assemble for.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I'm interested to see what they do for the next phase, and I think there might be a drop. I think after the success of Endgame and all these other things, Disney's going to make a lot of money. Yay, great, good for them. They worked hard for that. But I think there's going to be a drop off where people are kind of superheroed out, kind of exhausted of the characters.
Yeah. Excuse me. Did I ever? I think I don't know if we ever talked about this. So in the first Avengers movie, do you know? Well, you could probably guess very easily how much the highest paid person was, right?
Well, it was Robert Downey Jr. with 45 million or something like that, or was it 40 million?
I've heard it was upwards of 50, but
okay, maybe. I know it was a lot.
Do you know who who was right after him? Who was the second highest paid?
Yeah, it was Chris Evans with 25 million.
Really? I thought it was less than that.
Maybe I'm wrong. I know there was a $5 million payment. I don't know who it was though.
I mean, yeah, let's see.
Well, who did you think it was?
Well, no, what I remember when I read Avengers movie pay payroll. Here we go. The Avengers.
Oh, you're right. It wasn't that big. It made like 2 to 3 million.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see it here.
But yeah, it's I mean, they have for their initial pay. I mean they make more money after the movie comes out.
Yeah, they make it on the back end on
Right. But yeah, it was like Robert Downey Jr. at like 50 million, and then Chris Evans is coming in second, like 5 million. And then the rest in like a couple million range. And I was like, wow. So a lot of the fan base was discussing like, geez, like Robert Downey Jr. is just such a I mean, as charming as a guy and nice of a guy as he is, it was just really but he behind all that was like he wanted to make sure he was getting paid big.
Damn right.
Granted, he is probably the most valuable character in the entire franchise.
Yeah, I would say so as well.
But it's just like, God damn, dude, like, jeez.
Yeah, I agree. Because he also had a lot of cameos. He had cameos in the Spider-Man movies, and didn't he show up in some end scene of another movie? I can't remember.
Well, I mean, he's popped in and out in other movies, but it's just I think I've heard that was a huge problem. At least I shouldn't say problem, a difficulty to work with for Marvel to really like, okay, every time we have him on, we got to pay him exuberant amounts of money, and that's just how it is,
Yeah.
There's a, granted, yeah, the movie just blows up in the box office, and they're more than able to pay him off, but it's
still expensive.
Yeah, and I've heard it's like a big part probably is that it's just he's too goddamn expensive to keep around.
Right. Yeah, probably makes sense. I would suspect so that because he really started it. Like the whole thing came together from Iron Man.
Right, because from I even like when I heard about Iron Man 3, there were talks that Iron Man 3 might not happen because of how much money he costed.
Right.
And then there was even more talk that just as each movie went on after pretty much right towards the end of Avengers, the first Avengers was just it's way too expensive to bring him on every time.
Yeah.
Making a solo movie or making just a regular Avengers movie that he's in, or even any cameo for that matter. It's just he's too expensive. It's and again, like you said, yeah, it makes sense that people are probably going to be pretty superheroed out because Captain America's got plenty out there.
I mean, it's like 3 movies per character kind of thing, right? Iron Man is 3.
Yeah,
Captain America is 3.
But even Captain America, so then you have Captain America: Civil War, which is really just another Avengers movie.
Yeah, pretty much, right? That's what I was saying. It's Avengers Light.
Exactly. It was just it's kind of Captain America, but not really.
Yeah.
Because the ending scene in Captain America: Civil War was not really about Captain America. It was you had the scene where War Machine and Tony Stark, well, Don Cheadle's character, and they're like talking about talking, and then of course you have your Stan Lee cameo. He's delivering the cell phone.
Yeah.
And then you kind of it ties into really Black Panther,
right?
At that point. But yeah, it's amazing what they've pulled off, but it's also when you start to see a lot of the behind the scenes, it's amazing that they'd even kept it together this long.
I agree. Which is probably why it's not going to continue in the long run. I think they've done something phenomenal. It's going to be an amazing box set. You could buy all 20 films, kind of like the James Bond franchise. I don't think there's any bigger franchises out there right now between the
But
Bonds.
even the James Bond franchise, it wasn't tied together by one story though.
No, it wasn't. And that's over 50 years of Bond. And
It was just really just, I mean, characters with names, ridiculous missions.
yeah.
I mean, Mission Impossible at least had a very, tied together storyline. And that was pretty big on its own too.
I've never been a big fan of Tom Cruise's Mission Impossibles. I was a big fan of the TV series, but
yeah, I mean, for them, it's the way it's tied together is pretty interesting. When you I've sat down and watched all of them. I mean, not in one sitting, but in a few days, I'll watch them all, and then I'm like, okay, I can see there is a sense of tying it all together. There is a little bit of a few movies having the same villain, especially the last few movies were all kind of tied together by a villain.
Right.
But outside of that, it was like, okay, it was and in terms of entertainment, it was satisfying, but it wasn't like over the top like the Avengers.
Yeah, I get that.
It was, yeah. So again, I don't think it's going to be a while, if ever, someone's going to pull off some sort of huge franchise where you can tie together so many movies
in such a short period of time. I completely agree. It's going to be a feat, and when the box set comes out, I will probably buy the box set because it's iconic. It's really amazing.
The box set's going to make money. And then you're probably like in a few years, they're going to have like the anniversary box sets.
Yes, exactly.
Restored, extended scenes,
Yeah. Interviews with the cast, the soundtrack.
Commentary, and extra, a whole second box set on top of the original box set of bonus features.
Yeah. And bloopers. And yeah, totally. They're going to milk that for everything it's worth.
Oh, that's going to be milked for the next few decades for sure.
I mean, yeah, it's what they did with Harry Potter. Harry Potter now is finished. I don't know when the last one came out, but it's been a while. And they're still milking Harry Potter merchandise and other things. And they've come up with a whole new bunch of movies now, which is the Fantastic Beasts series, kind of prequels, just to keep the gravy train going, right? So, yeah.
It'll be one of those things, telling my kids, yeah, we had the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. What?
Yeah, one day you're gonna sit, Amos Jr. down and be like, yes, son, grab the popcorn. It all started with Iron Man, and you start from the beginning,
Oh, but I mean, compared to the movies they'll have, and by that time, it's still going to be like one of those things. Like it's
monumental. Yeah.
Oh yeah, what my parents saw as classic movies to like show me, it's going to be like me showing them. Like, yeah, we had 20 movies tied together.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, and then they'll be like, yeah, but we've got movies with VR and shit or something.
It's all going to be Oculus by then,
Oh yeah. You go to the movies and you put on your VR headset and you can like involve yourself in the movie or something.
Correct.
But
no screen, no projector, no nothing. It's all in the headset. That's what's coming.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's crazy, man.
But any other movies that you're kind of looking forward to?
No, I think those are the big ones. As I say, I'll probably go and see Shazam. I'll check out Hellboy. I heard Hellboy was very busy. They put a lot into it. I like the first two ones. I always kind of like that kind of crazy paranormal investigator types of movies.
This one's supposed to be pretty bloody from what I see.
It could be. But I heard it was also very busy. Like they try to put a lot into this to launch the franchise. So maybe that's kind of the thing. Yeah, I wanted to ask you about Trump's 4D chess move regarding the immigrants. Have you heard about this?
Oh, sending them to the sanctuary cities?
Sending them to the sanctuary cities.
Yeah, I mean, it is definitely a pretty interesting move he's playing. I mean, he's pretty much like, all right, if you don't want me to keep him out, I'll send him to you guys. See how that works with your cities.
Yeah. Fill the listeners in who may not be familiar with the American politics.
What? So everyone knows about Trump and his wall, his very much, his anti illegal immigration. Just to be clear, anti illegal immigration stance. And how he's been pushing what I think has he wanted to push to kind of pretty much ban the idea of like sanctuary cities or something.
There is a piece of legislation coming up. I can't remember who was pushing
But
it,
he wanted
make
to
it
remove
illegal.
you make that kind of an illegal thing. Basically, sit in sanctuary cities for the listeners. Basically places where illegal immigrants can be safe from any
deportation.
Yeah, just safe areas. So Trump basically made the move of wanting to take all of these illegal immigrants, especially the ones that are in non-sanctuary cities, and just send them to all the sanctuary cities. Basically, flood the sanctuary cities with illegal immigrants.
Correct.
Now, regardless of what you think about illegal immigrants and just the policies around that, there has been a pretty good case, I believe, at least, that this influx of them and whatever you want to say about the different, the work ethic of, Mexican immigrants that come by, there tends to be, of course, there's a lot of this issue with gang violence, bit of a clash of culture, and definitely nowhere near the immigrant crisis that's kind of going on in Europe.
Agreed.
But it's definitely can affect neighborhoods. Just as a general rule, I tend to see like when you have some huge demographic shift, you get tension that just comes out. It's not, and libertarians are probably hearing me, you're talking about groups. Yeah, well, yeah, on an individual level, there's probably some different things, but on a group, collective level, um, two, clashing groups of different cultures is going to lead to some tension. I just call it tension. It's going to be whether it's going to be a rise in some gang violence, a rise in some sort of crime rates. Different things can happen. And so I see Trump as making this move to kind of put the pressure and really force the left to kind of put their money where the mouth is, kind of thing. Like, all right, you want all of them. Here, take all of them then.
Correct.
And see what happens to the cities. Gradually introducing a population, into a population can work. But when you have such an influx in a short amount of time, which is happening a lot nowadays, you tend to have problems. You let in a few, they kind of integrate, they assimilate, they pick up jobs, whatever, and then they kind a generation or two, or even just part of a generation, and into that they kind of adapt. Then you let in some more, and then they kind of work their way in. Their culture integrates. They open up restaurants or something. They start working some of the jobs, and you let in a little more. But when you just go, okay, let's introduce like a decent like percentage of the population into here, like, oh, so the 1% that was Hispanics now turns to 5% within a year.
Yeah,
getting a little crazy.
I mean, I think I saw what was most shocking to me. It's kind of related to this, but the last time I was in Miami, Florida,
Mm-hmm.
And I went out for the night, because I think I had an overnight for a flight. Nobody spoke English. Nobody. Right? Which was, it was bizarre. I'm in the United States of America. And to be fair, the last time I was there was a long time ago socially, when I was a younger kid. They were at least bilingual. You could go into a store and somebody would speak to you in English or in Spanish, but nobody spoke English. And it was quite jarring. It's like, wow. And we talk about places like, I mean, the very famous now South Central LA, right? So coming out of Compton, you know, and all these rappers came out of Compton. There ain't no rappers in Compton anymore. It's Little Mexico now, right? The Latin cultures come in, and it is overwhelmed. You know what was, you know, the Bronx and all of these poor areas. You know, yeah, it's the Latino and Mexican people are coming in, and they're transforming the cities. So where there turf wars and stuff like that, you got the rise of MS-13 and all these other types of things. So I agree. The demographic shift is a real thing. And for me, it was very jarring when I was in Florida and I was in a place, I thought this was the United States, and I literally couldn't talk to anybody. Right? It was surreal. So Trump is doing, I mean, this is a 4D chess move. I have to give him credit for this. That you know, we've been hearing for a long time how the media has misconstrued his comments regarding MS-13, and they tried to say, well, you know, he's applying this to all immigrants when he made the comment about, you know, these people are animals, referring to the violence of MS-13. I believe the tagline or the motto for MS-13 is rape, kill, control in Spanish, right? So that is literally their tagline, right? MS-13, rape, kill, and control, right? So yeah, definitely not little Mother Teresa's that we're dealing with here. And out of this, you know, Trump was demonized and all this kind of stuff. And we got all of these, you know, bleeding heart leftists and progressives. Oh, the immigrants, the poor immigrants, and the dreamers, and the this and the that. And, you know, we're going to build a sanctuary. And I think even the governor of California came out and he said, you know, we're going to make California a sanctuary for anybody in the world who wants to come here. And all right, we've been hearing this, all of these great things about migrants and immigrants and refugees, and it's all great. And it's, you know, sex with them is like jasmine scented, and you know, all of this rhetoric. So we've been being told that we need more immigrants. And now that Trump is giving them the very thing that they've been lecturing we need more of, they've suddenly changed their story, right? And what's really ironic, CNN and MSNBC, I was watching Tucker Carlson or somebody else do commentary on this. They talked about Trump dumping these immigrants into these sanctuary cities. And the very fact that CNN and MSNBC is using the phrase dumping in relation to these migrants and to these immigrants, I mean, that's not very polite. That's not very, you know, good language, you know, for these people who supposedly love immigrants. And one headline, I think from the Washington Compost, they came out with a headline basically saying that it was cruel that Trump was going to be sending these migrants to these Democrat-controlled cities. I don't think they realized how woke that statement really was. In the sense, these democratic cities are actually shitholes, and sending the migrants there is probably not the best thing for them. But I don't think that's how they meant it. But it's kind of being read that way. And Alyssa Milano, you know, all of these progressive voices are being called out for their blatant hypocrisy, and it is brilliant. It is absolutely brilliant. Like he's. I don't know who's advising Trump, but this move, I've got to give him props for this entire thing. Now, tell me, like, you're in Minnesota, and Minnesota under Obama basically got an entire Somali village dumped into the city, right? This is right. Yeah, tell us the story.
Few cities. It's definitely I mean, I personally haven't seen it because I haven't been in the cities as much, but it's there's definitely been an influx of that. You can notice that there are whole neighborhoods fully of like Somali kind of African, you know, migrants. And I've seen videos of, granted, I don't know the exact context, but it looked a little bit different. We'll just say people have gone to the Mall of America. We've talked about that place, and going there, and they were going through the amusement park. Someone had their phone out, walking through the amusement park one day, and it was 90% people in sort of the veils and such,
The
and
burkas
the
and
burkas and all this, and I was like, that's different. Um, and that's not to go and kind of say like, oh, start freaking out or anything, but it was just I just saw that and I was like, that's really different. Um, during just before Trump was so the in the couple years before Trump was elected, I heard a lot about this. And granted, I didn't have a lot of the thoughts I have now, so I didn't really know how to go about it. I tried to stay out of politics back then. But there were, when I was working for, I'll just, well, Brooke knows, but that restaurant I used to work for as a
yes,
manager,
yes,
my boss would come in and we'd speak on just, things we're wanting to do. And one day we're talking and he just kind of goes, yeah, and this guy is over in this town over there, and he's running one of our restaurants, and you know, got to be careful over there because one of those Somali refugees, just something might happen. And I just kind of looked over at the other. There was another manager in there with me, and I kind of looked over at him and kind of looked back over at my boss and like, did he just say that? Kind of like, we're talking about this, and I just like, okay, I'm not gonna say anything because back then I was probably a little more PC conscious.
sure.
I was kind of like, "Hmm, okay, I guess he said that. So then I call one of my another we had a supervisor. I called him and I'm like, hey, so the boss was talking and talked about this, and he goes, yeah, probably not the best to say that, but then again, he's not really not saying anything, you
Right.
know. And I was like, really? So then this is where it kind of popped into my mind, like, wow, really, this is kind of a thing going on in Minnesota. And there have been I've told you, there have been jobs. The One of my previous jobs I worked where I went to worked in people's homes. I would come across a lot of there were neighborhoods in cities completely just one specific group of people, whether they were Somalis. Um, didn't actually there weren't really like Middle Easterners. It was just mostly a lot of Somali. At least the impression I was getting was just African Muslims. I'll
Right.
say that. So, excuse me. I don't know if they were really having that big of an impact on the local, just the group, the area and such. Because I wasn't living in those areas. I live in a small town here where it's probably mostly white people. Um,
And Hoppers.
one Hapa.
One
Uh,
Hopper.
among I mean, this is a small town of like 3,000 ish people. So yeah, I've been so secluded that I didn't really notice. um and even when I was the last place I lived at, still pretty secluded from mainly cities. So I hear about it from people I come across from my different jobs and such, but I've never really gotten to see it firsthand. So it's most definitely out there from the conversations I've had, but in terms of the overall effect from, like, the common man, telling me what's being affected in their areas, I really couldn't tell you.
I mean, your state is responsible for Ilan Omar. Is that correct?
Unfortunately, yes.
Okay. Okay.
So
All
I've
right.
told you this, my state is responsible for all sorts of characters.
Yes.
Ilhan Omar, Michelle Bachmann, Al Franken, Amy Klobuchar, now presidential candidate, Jesse
Who?
the Body Ventura.
Right. I was about to say the wrestler, ex wrestler, Jesse Ventura.
And then
Yeah.
there was a time one of our governors wanted to be a VP. Tim Pawlenty, he was a Republican governor. He was actually pretty good as a governor, I'd say. Just made some tax cuts, some budget cuts, really encouraged a lot of good things. But I mean, it wasn't anything special.
Right.
But he was.
So is there something in the water, some like brain altering something that the state is like pumping in there to like increase the number of crazies? Is this a conspiracy?
You're gonna have to ask Alex Jones on that.
They're not turning the frogs gay; they're just turning the people crazy. Like y'all have some pretty fucked up representatives going to Washington D.C.
Yeah, it's yeah. What was it? I don't know if we talked about this. Ilhan Omar was caught. Basically, someone asked her about someone asked her about some Hamas attack in Israel. Right. And they were like, what do you have to comment? She goes, no comment. Why would you not comment?
Right.
What is so tough about condemning a terrorist attack? Oh, I mean, not to get all like, starting to like I don't have a board over here with, strings and connecting all these people. But you just you're not helping yourself. you're not making us look that. I mean, and again, I mean, granted, it's one of the few things I really know for sure that she did, but she called upon the Minnesota Attorney General to do something really goddamn stupid that I'm like, that's not your place.
Right.
AOC over there in New York is fucking up the Amazon opportunities. And over here, we've got a representative that's asking the Attorney General to investigate transgender athletes. What?
Something I think she's gotten new notoriety based on a tweet from President Trump, the God Emperor. All hail. I don't know if you saw this or not, but apparently in Omar, in discussing the issues surrounding 9/11, September 11th in the United States,
I heard about something. What? Yeah. Okay, what did they do? What did they say?
She basically, in a video clip, basically said that some people. She described the events as some people just did some stuff. And somebody took that video clip and they put it alongside actual footage of the buildings coming down. And at the end of it, it's kind of like, yeah, this is the people that did some stuff. And like, you can't even kind of come out and condemn the biggest terrorist attack in US history.
Oh, yeah. Shit.
Yeah. And Trump tweeted the video.
Oh, oh wow. I mean, yeah, left or right. God damn it.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. We have Brian Monroe is in the chat. He's asking about the incident you were telling me about yesterday concerning the young boy that was thrown from the 3rd floor at the Mall of America. Yeah. So I didn't get the details, but do you know anything about that?
24-year-old man identified as, I forgot his name, whatever his name was, but African-American guy. Basically, it hasn't been confirmed whether or not the man and the child or the mother of the child know each other.
Okay.
But basically threw him off. So if anyone's ever been to the Mall of America, there's kind of these very typical malls kind of set up. You kind of have like the shops kind of going around in a circle. And then there's kind of this open middle area where you can see the other floors, and it kind of goes down to probably some open area. Sometimes they put something there. Like I went to what's called the Galleria Dallas Mall when I was in Dallas. They had like an ice skating rink down there.
Yeah.
There's parts of the Mall of America where they have like these areas where they can hold concerts or some sort of live event to promote at the mall. Anyways, there's a lot of these open areas where it's just open. People down there. And basically this guy took this 5-year-old, and threw him off the 3rd floor. And the news article basically said, so then the security and the police were there and basically surrounded the kid to kind of make sure he's okay. And the kid was in a pool of blood.
Of course.
And just
Critical.
critical. Oh, very. And so I don't know. I haven't followed up on the story yet to see what exactly has happened since. But they said the kid had made it to the hospital receiving treatment, which is good.
Okay.
As far as that goes. But it was just kind of a crazy thing. And
Do you know
yeah,
what happened to the guy?
Let's see here. So Mall of America. Here we go. Kid thrown off. Here we go. Here we go. Yeah. Associated Press. Okay. 5-year-old was thrown off the 3rd floor balcony. Let's see. So the boy fell nearly 40 feet.
Mm-hmm.
The man apparently didn't know the boy or the family. The boy's name has not been released, and the family is requesting privacy. Good. There's no update. So this is posted an hour ago. So there's no update on the kid's status, except that he's been being cared for at the hospital. Parents are with him. Hospitals won't give out any statement yet. So, Emmanuel Deshaun Arnada, 24 of Minneapolis, was arrested and jailed on suspicion of attempted homicide. Bystanders, Potts, which is the chief of police chief of Bloomington, which is where Mall of America has credited the bystanders and mall security for his quick capture. Investigators say they don't believe that he knew the family and didn't have a motive as far as they know so far.
Right.
A witness told the news that on Friday that he heard a woman scream and that her child is being thrown from the balcony. He said she was screaming, everybody pray, oh my God, my baby, someone threw him over the edge. So court records show that Arnada, which is the guy who did it, had a history of convictions for misdemeanor offenses. He's been charged in 2 previous incidents at the mall in 2015.
Wow.
These cases were handled through the mental health court, but he didn't elaborate. At one point, Arnada had a trespass notice banning him from the mall, but it was no longer in effect.
Wow.
Jail records don't list any attorney for Arnada. The police chief says he expects to submit the case to the Hennepin County prosecutors for charges by noon on Monday. So tomorrow he'll be charged.
Right.
Yeah, and then it's just a little bit describing the mall itself. It is the largest mall in the country. So
I think you said it is. It is the biggest mall in the United States.
Yeah, there are really big malls out there, but this one's pretty darn big. I think, and then the largest mall in the world is Edmonton Mall, I think.
Edmonton? Where?
Edmonton, Alberta.
I thought it was Sawgrass Mills in Florida, but I might be wrong.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's probably it's probably a new one. Sawgrass was back maybe 10 years ago, was probably one of the biggest. But yeah. Brian is saying it's in Canada, so.
Here we go. Siam Paragon
is the biggest mall in the world.
No. Oh, wow. There's even bigger malls. Okay.
I think that Dubai probably has a fucking stadium-sized something.
Oh, here we go.
Just ask the Google machine.
New South China Mall.
South China Mall is the biggest in the world.
6.46 million square feet.
Well, suck it, Canada.
but it's a ghost mall.
Oh, there's nothing in it?
99% of all storefronts are vacant.
Right.
So the next one is the Golden Resources Mall, which is in China.
Right. Yeah, I figured Asia would probably have the biggest. So what's the biggest in North America then? So
I think it is, let's see. Okay, Central World is Bangkok. So The biggest one is probably West Edmonton Mall is the largest in North America.
Right.
That's why I thought about that one. Yeah, it's
Right, in
but
Canada.
yep.
Yeah, that's the one that's got like
Excuse me.
a water park or some shit inside of it.
Yep.
Dang.
I mean, Mall of America has
A theme
an
park.
amusement. Yeah. Not a really big one, but it is enough that like they get a lot of traffic through there. So
Yeah, I've been to the Mall of America. It's a decent place, you know. Not bad, not bad.
oh yeah. I mean, they have if you really kind of walk around and you can figure out like there's in some cases there's multiple stores of the same company.
Right. Like there's a Levi's on floor 3, and then a Levi's on floor 4 or whatever.
Yeah, I've actually walked across. So you like again these balcony kind of setups. You're walking across, you can see other floors.
Yeah.
I've walked across and I'll look and I'm like, I can actually see. Oh, here's a Claire's over here, and then there's a Claire's over there. You know?
Yeah.
Or like even like T-Mobile stores, Starbucks, all these coffee places, stuff like that. So
right. Caribou is like a Minnesotan coffee shop franchise.
Minnesota, Midwest. It's a Midwest equivalent to Starbucks.
So it's the Tim Hortons of the Midwest.
You could say that. I would always prefer Caribou over Starbucks.
Yeah, a Starbucks. Even here, Starbucks is not that great. So
yeah, Starbucks has become too large that all their coffee is kind of the same, and it's not that good.
Right.
It's just kind of anyway. So, but yeah, I mean that's crazy stuff going on over there. The last real crazy news that I heard coming out of the Mall of America was some ISIS video showing the Mall of America as a target.
Well, good thing ISIS is no more. It's been defeated in Syria. Amen. And of course, everybody who came from the US or the United Kingdom and stuff, they're all trying to get back now, because, reasons. So we're still cleaning up. But since the war is over in Syria, you would figure that people would be rushing to go back and rebuild their homeland. Don't you think? Shouldn't we be seeing like caravans going back to Syria? You would hope.
I mean, yeah. When you hear about this stuff and then people go, well, they're trying to run away from their homeland. You mean all the military age men,
right? And they don't have their wives or children with them. Yeah, I think
right.
Even like the very left leaning communist rag sheet called The Guardian in the UK, they kind of admitted that like only 20 to 30%, might be a little bit more, maybe I got the figures wrong, but it's less than half, drastically less than half of the supposed migrants coming into Europe have legitimate claim to be a refugee or to claim asylum. Some of these people are coming all the way from places like Morocco. There's no conflict in Morocco.
I mean, Lauren Southern's new documentary that's coming out now is kind of addressing that. She released some little snippets here and there of finding out about what was it? There are people that are basically coaching these refugees to like what to say, how to say it,
how to game the system. Yeah.
And it's like, if you have a legitimate claim, you don't need anything. Your story's good. But
correct.
The fact that you got to be coached to lie, to feign some sort of, feelings and whatnot, it's like, what the hell's going on here?
Correct. I mean, it is a real issue. I mean, we don't even hear half of the horror stories coming out of Germany and other places. Sweden, yeah, it's bad. Even today, because I was in central London today, Merkel's Lego is out in full display. And for anybody who doesn't know, the migrants came into Germany and, we started to get these truck attacks, these trucks of peace that would run into Christmas markets and, plow over people for their merriment and, for their cultural enrichment. And as a result of that, we have now erected these barricades and these anchor points that they dress up. They make him look like giant presents. They make him look like candy canes. But it's like, buried steel going down like 7 feet, basically, to prevent trucks
It's like
from
wrapping
hitting the
it's like
pedestrians.
wrapping barbed wire in ribbons to make it look like candy canes. It's just like, what are you really doing here?
Yeah,
Ooh,
you've
look.
lost the plot. You
Ooh,
have
look.
lost the plot.
We've got looping, candy canes on the top of these, green and red fences. It's
Oh,
like,
quick, somebody put some fairy lights on it, I mean, for fuck's sake. But yeah,
how
this
well
is
can
what's
you
happening.
decorate your statism? I don't know.
No,
But
it's
I know.
absolute nonsense.
Yeah. So, man, I almost got to this conversation. So, so I'll tell everyone this. So I have been seeing a person coming
Look,
over.
as we call her, not a university student.
Not a university. That's right, not a university student. So she came over again last night, and we talked. We spent some time with each other. We went to go get dinner.
Did
But
she grab your sausage?
oh gosh, we're not getting into that.
Okay.
So we had one thing that she likes is hearing me talk about the different things I think about, the different things, beliefs I have. Kind of that, we'll call it just conversations, but also, we'll just say some pillow talk. Anyways, so we're having,
You naughty,
she's
naughty boy.
she's really interested in hearing
What
about the
would your
different.
mother say? No, I'm just
Oh
kidding.
boy. She's interested in hearing about the different views I have, my rationale on things. And I always encourage her, like, she tends to be somewhat left leaning. And I'm like, I always encourage her, like, hey, I want to hear what you're thinking about on these things. Because I'll bring up something and I'll just say the word, like it's almost like a trigger word, but she doesn't like flip. She just kind of goes, oh, he's talking about this now, you know?
Right.
And we talked a little bit about, so on our way to dinner, I just started talking about Bill C-16 and free speech, hate speech laws. And once I really broke it down, it was like, she was like, what? I'm like, yeah, we're literally the only country in the world now, pretty much, that has free speech the way we do.
Correct. Constitutionally.
Yeah. And I'm like, and people are actually saying, there is, you know, the whole argument of like denying my right to exist by saying all these mean things or contradictory beliefs to what I believe and stuff like that. I asked her to kind of see what she knows about these things, like, pronouns and all this. And I said, yeah, pronouns is one thing. Like, you want to you people have pronouns, have your pronouns. But if if you're dressed up looking a certain way and I accidentally say the wrong word or something, and you can basically take me to court and possibly send me to jail for that, that's a breach, big time. And she kind of started to understand, like, oh yeah, that's right, yeah, that's kind of crazy. I'm like, yeah. I said, it really makes me wonder at times if things hit the fan. Like, now, it usually is, you have the social side of it. So now in society, in socially speaking, conversations you can't really have, because she would hear me in the way I would talk. And so, yeah. And then, so, back in 2016, or, when Trump was, my voice went down when I said, was Trump was elected. And she kind of picked up on that. Like, what are you doing that for? I said, it's a really bad habit, but like, you bring up certain words and people, like, it's going to invoke a reaction.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah. And I said, but think of that though. That's a big problem too. Here we are socially, we can't talk about certain things without fear of a reaction coming about.
Correct.
When it's just a matter of fact of what happened. I said, and that is usually a big thing. Like, if people aren't noticing what socially is happening, then by the time it becomes some sort of law somewhere, we're in big trouble. Because if socially it becomes unacceptable to speak of different ideas, have different discussions, it's just a matter of time before that attitude makes it into the legislature and laws can come into place. I mean, we kind of understand it as just, yeah, I mean, with like the Civil Rights Act, people wanted the Civil Rights Act because businesses and such were suffering because they couldn't serve the people they wanted to serve, to abolish Jim Crow laws and all this. So then the Civil Rights Act was coming after plenty of social pressure. So now you have the social pressure to change how we look at speech and just discourse in general. And it's not that hard to just, next thing you know, you can't say certain words or you have to say certain words.
No, I agree. And I think the big failing on the left for the progressives, not everybody on the left, but the progressives, because the left used to be very pro free speech at one point, at least in the U.S. frame of politics. Is they not only do they not understand context. So, like for instance, Carl Benjamin, Sargon of Akkad, he's actually running for the European Parliament under the UKIP banner. And he tweeted out to I think it was a Labour or possibly a Conservative MP that he wouldn't even rape her. Right? Now, YouTube has just given us a strike and this will never be monetized. But yeah, he said, I would, she complained about getting all these rape threats. And he said, I wouldn't even rape you. And then she got like a barrage of people saying, yeah, I wouldn't even rape you either.
Oh God.
Anyway, that's not really a rape threat. That's a non-rape threat, if you ask me. It's not even a threat really, because there's no initiation of force or anything. But because these left progressives, all they saw was the word rape being directed to this lady, and they had no idea of the context of I would not even rape you. They categorized it as an attack and a rape tweet, and he's a rape apologist and all this other shit, right? And it just becomes very clear that the left doesn't understand language at all, right? Which is why they're fighting to redefine everything, because they can't win their arguments based on the standard definitions, so they're losing on that front. They've got to change the meaning of the words in order to try and get some legitimacy. And that's not going to fucking happen, right? This is a fringe group of people. Yes, they're vocal at this moment, but no, this is not really, this is not the pulse of the country or the world or most people anyway. So it's good that you could have these conversations with not a university student.
I mean,
at some point, did she be not wearing any clothes?
No comment on that. I've said enough on that.
People want to know. No, I'm just kidding.
So we got into some interesting things. I mean, I got so far as to like really show her examples where speech is being censored and even attacked upon. I showed her. So I started telling her the story of Count Dankula, and I actually showed her the video, a couple of his videos. And I showed her, of course, the first one, the big one. And she was laughing. She's like, oh my gosh, because she gets the joke. Like, because she's really into pets too. She's like, oh my gosh, I get it. Like taking a cute pet and completely destroying the innocence of how cute it is.
Right. Before you go on, for some people who don't know, what was the big video that Mark Meacham?
Okay. So Mark Meacham, Count Dankula in the UK is infamously known for his Nazi saluting pug.
Right.
So he has this little pug named Buddha. This cute little pug, and he goes, so I wanted to, he goes, my girlfriend really loves this dog, and she thinks he's the cutest thing in the world. So I want to, mess with my girlfriend, and I want to make it like the least cute thing in the world, which is, I came to think, a Nazi. So then, of course, he turns to like, then he trains the dog to respond to words like "gas the Jews," or
Sieg Heil.
Sieg Heil. It would raise its paw quick. He starts having it watch like Hitler speeches on his computer. Just the whole way he edited it. I mean, it's not it's not edited the best, but it's and a lot of comedians even said it's not like the most craziest but it's so ridiculous that it's pretty funny, But it was just, it goes semi-viral in the area, and he gets arrested. And I told her, I said, this is from 2016, I think?
2016.
And I told her, I said, he is still fighting this in some ways,
Yes.
I told her, I kind of explained a little bit about like the whole, granted, by the time I'm talking about this, we're walking to a restaurant. So I wasn't going to go too much into detail in a public place, but I basically kind of told her, yeah, the court started playing some nonsense, like, no, the context is not a joke. The court determines the context, which is you're literally a Nazi that wants to kill Jews with your little pug. It's like, who the fuck comes up with this? The whole thing of wanting to, the 1 year of jail turning to 5 years in jail and all this stuff. And yeah, I told her, I said, yeah, and this guy got pretty, well known now on the internet, but it's just all he does is cracking a joke. And it was just funny because it's just like, you know, I mean, she's laughing at the video, because just a little, just it's clips upon clips of him talking to his dog, gas the juice, and then the dog kind of gets up.
looks up,
or he just kind of whispers, "Juice," and then
and
the
the
kid
dog perks up.
jumps up, and it's like, again, I am not condoning. It's funny because of how ridiculous it is. It's not funny because Jews, because gassing them, because Nazis. It's so over the top ridiculous, which is the humor.
Correct.
Which we had this other conversation. I told her, I said, my view on humor, I said, I think a healthy sense of humor, like dark humor even. Like, so you go up, I said, you go listen to a comedian and, he starts joking about, let's say, the N-word.
Yes.
And they're comedians that will jokes like, yeah, white people saying the N-word is like funny because it's like, well, you're not really helping anyone because you say N-word and we're all thinking of the word.
Right.
So they joke about this and then they'll say the word and, people will laugh at how ridiculous it is. And I told her, I said, the thing about humor isn't so much about the content of it, but sort of the context and what it's trying to address. Dark humor is hilarious for people because it brings to light the dark thoughts we have by making them seem just nonsense. We have dark thoughts all the time, even the most, especially the most, elitist sort of leftist leaning white people that are like all this stuff. I said that you joke about these things, it brings it to light and people feel more comfortable. I said, the problem is when you don't. I said, then you start having these problems. So I explained to her soft bigotry of low expectations.
Right.
You have these people who are supposedly so PC progressive white people that are so pro,
minorities or
pro minority, and I'm so cool with black people, whatever. And then they start saying, so I explained to her the soft bigotry of low expectations through voter ID laws, how that conversation really was revealed as just white leftists that are basically saying, well, it's racist because not all black people have access to IDs. It's like you're literally saying they can't afford IDs. I even told her, like, I explained to her like the feminist thing, like, so there's the feminists tend to push that all men are misogynists, all men are sexist, we're all trying to rape women or whatever. I said, so, and here I come alongside you and I say, don't worry, I'll protect you from all the sexists. That is a soft bigotry of expectations, because here I am, a man, is basically presuming you cannot protect yourself.
Correct.
That you're not empowered, your empowerment is not strong enough to protect yourself from sexist men, misogynistic men, that I have to step in. But it's veiled as some sense of virtue. I said, so that's the same thing, is you have a lot of this is going on, and in a way, it's even worse or just as bad as the, I told her about Kanye West when he went to the Oval Office and CNN, what was it? CNN, straight up, like prime time CNN said, this is what happens when a Negro reads.
Doesn't read
or something. And I told her this and she goes, they said that? I'm like, yeah, I misquote. I'll have to clear it up with her later, but
right.
And I said, yeah, this is what happened. She was like, CNN? I said, yeah, they dropped that. Whereas, and then of course, the weeks before they were, going weeks upon weeks talking about how Trump called, certain countries shitholes. Like, come on, people.
Yeah. No, it's absolute nonsense in that respect. And it's good that you can have these conversations with, not a university student. And not taking her clothes off. But yeah, no, it's because let's be real, right? This generation basically has the attention span of a gnat, right? Like a wood-eating termite, right?
Yeah, and real quick before you go into that,
Sure.
I just something I thought of, and one thing I noticed was growing up when I just so in our ministry days we had our different beliefs, and it was pretty deviant even for like just among Christians to believe what we believed. And I always kind of had this thought in my mind, like, okay, you know, here I am with these beliefs, and not many people are going to believe like this, at least. And I thought, who will I ever meet that's going to remotely like get where I'm coming from on things? And I talked to my father at the time, and was saying like, hey, I obviously got to keep being, going out and ministering to these people, because not only is it just part of my calling, I felt, but I got to meet a chick at some of these things,
Right, right.
because I'm not going to find anyone else like that in like regular church. And then he said, no, you don't have to do that. I'm like, well, what do you mean? He goes, you don't want to find someone that just agrees with you on a lot of things. He
Correct.
goes, you want to find someone that maybe agrees with some things. And
Sure.
you have something to kind of, and then they're of course more willing, and then they're of that you want them to be open-minded enough to be willing to have conversations with you about things. And I was like, what? And he goes, yeah. Don't like try to go find some chick that's like at a conference you're speaking at, like, that agrees with a lot of what you say. Go find a girl that will like agree with some basics, and then work from there.
Who'll suck your balls dry?
He didn't talk about that. um, I didn't have those kinds of conversations with my dad.
Fair enough.
Uh,
Fair.
so, but then so then I'm kind of thinking on this, like, oh, it's not so much, oh, this, not a university student has to agree with me. It's that we can agree on some things, find out where we agree on things, and find out where we disagree on things, and have the conversation. She's more interested in hearing my different beliefs than us agreeing with each other all day.
That's very, very important. Like I would say, so like I went to church today, right? I put it on my Instagram. I
Ooh.
went to the Hillsong Church in London.
Ooh.
Right. Now, back in the day when I was a good, Protestant protesting Catholicism, and the Pope was the Antichrist and all that. This podcast is never getting monetized. Back in those days when I thought like the Catholic Church was the Antichrist and all this other nonsense, I was really into Hillsong. I was really into that whole kind of atmospheric worship and stuff like that. And I probably would have given my left nut. No, maybe not. But I would have given a lot to get to a Hillsong church just to kind of bask in the music and stuff. And now that I'm kind of stepped away from that lifestyle and everything else, I went there today with my flatmates. He's there. He's with his fiance and stuff like that. He wanted to give her the experience, and I was like, yeah, sure, why not? I've got nothing else going on, and I was bored out of my mind. Right, like a gentleman on my Instagram asked me. Yeah, he asked me what did I think of the church, and I had to be honest. Well, first of all, this wasn't their normal establishment. They'd moved from one place and they were now in the Palladium, which is a giant concert hall in London. And so it doesn't look very churchy, but all of the hoopla, the big lights and the music and the fog, and they've got the psychedelic background that's slightly moving, and it's just, oh jeez. I didn't know any of the songs. I'm very far removed from that kind of worship music and stuff like that, so I couldn't really get into it because I didn't know any of the music. And the preaching was really bad. Well, I don't want to say it's bad. It was elementary. Let's say that. It really was for kids. It was for young people who are like how we used to be, probably when we were like 18, 19 and sold out for God and all that kind of stuff. And I walked out of it like, this just isn't for me. So in the midst of doing that, like I was looking around because people know I'm single now, and I was kind of like, I actually don't want to meet a woman that's kind of really into this church. Right? I've had enough experiences with these Christian, devout, sold out, be a martyr in Africa to feed starving children kind of women.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, I can't do it. I can't do it. Every Christian girl that I've gone out with, it all starts great because, oh wow, you were a preacher and oh, you did miracles, all this kind of shit, right? It starts off all hot and heavy. They're like, oh wow, I want to know, and then you start telling them stuff, and they're like, oh no, oh, you're one of those, you're the one they warned us about,
I mean, yeah, that's kind of like, because I with not a university student, she basically, I have to like explain to her like the only way we're really connecting anywhere in there is because she's not very religious herself.
Good.
So when I'm addressing like I mean really questioning faith,
Yeah.
she was like, oh yeah, I know about that. Being being real. We talked a little bit about conversations you have where I think we talked about this. So we talked about the inner dialogue.
Yeah.
Our friend over at Killian Hobbs over at Think Liberty basically did a podcast talking about how 80% of the population doesn't really have this inner dialogue.
Right.
To which I liken it just to they don't think really. And I told her about this, and she was like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah, they just don't." And I said, I've had people in my life, some close friends, some family, that I'll talk about this with, and it's just people aren't really, it manifests itself in like people aren't really real with what they're doing. They're still thinking. Okay, so they are thinking technically because we're still human, we're still doing things, but they don't explore that aspect. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. Is just someone who thinks,
yes,
has that dialogue, has that self-awareness to say like, okay, yeah, I got this stuff going on, and this and that and the other, and here's how I figured this out. Where you can question them about something or you could point something out, and be able to, for them to be able to kind of go, oh yeah, I did say that, or yeah, I did act this way, or whatever, and move on from there. Whereas, then I had to explain, of course, cognitive dissonance and all this to her. Like, yeah, when you point out I have this problem where I point, I'll notice someone doing something, and then I just drop it on them. Hey, why are you saying it like this? And then they get really uncomfortable. I'm like,
yeah.
yeah. I think that's the thing, is because you go to church and you kind of have to apply that. Like most of the people there are just following. Well, yeah, they don't know better, and they're just following pretty much a script. It's just it's a part of their life to just do something. It's not they're not. They're kind of appealing to some desire of just wanting routine, or some sort of they're giving up a lot of like what they're receiving. We always talked about, like, in Christian terms, being fed, go to church to be fed by the word and all this, and they're kind of applying that, but more of in a habitual sense than an actual sense of like, I'm going to learn about something, I'm going here to have something challenged.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about like, yeah, early church, it was really just discussion, wasn't it? Just kind of,
yeah.
The early church wasn't one man preaching to everyone. I mean, you had that, but it was incorporating like a lot of preaching around and a lot of discussion, eating, drinking.
Yeah, it was a feast. You came over to the house for dinner with the brethren, and everybody would like Paul tried to put order to it and said, not everybody speaks. One person do a prophecy, one person do a this, that. Try to put some order to it, and that was kind of it. It was like groups of 10 or 12 or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
And I actually thought of that when I was in the church, and I'm looking at all of the shenanigans going on. It's just like, how far removed have we become from personal connection? Yes, to God, if you're so inclined, but just to each other, right? Which is that was what was missing.
There's a lot of catchphrases now. It's
Yeah, it's Christianese.
So I come up to him and say, "Hey, how are you doing, Brook? You know, oh, you know,
strong in the Lord."
Yeah, something like that. Strong in the Lord, and I'm like, okay.
What's that
so,
mean?
like, what? So then I come up to you and I'm like, all right. Well, is there any prayer request? Anything I can pray for you for? Oh, I'm just, whatever else you're saying. There was one I was thinking about. One term that was like, oh, so I start telling you something. Hey, man, I've just been noticing that there's, some stuff going on in your life, and I just really want to share, like, here's some of my thoughts on, oh, I received that, brother. What do you mean? Do you hear me or not? Don't just say that. Did you really get it? Did you really understand it? Oh man, I really received. No, just I heard you. Like, I get that.
Yeah.
Like, I get that is so much stronger than I received
that. Yeah, we could probably do an entire episode on Christianese and church culture, and
let's do that next week.
Yeah, exactly. How are we doing on time? I think
we're a little over.
Okay.
So, anything else you want to add quick?
No, just keep us posted with Not a University Student, and take it to Pound Town when you can. Good man. Yeah.
We are definitely demonetized.
Yeah, we're already in it, man. So,
but anyways, everyone, thanks you everyone for joining us today on the show. This is our 48th episode. Thank you everyone for joining us. If you'd like to follow us on social media, I am at Amos Joe on Twitter. Brook is at Brook_Potter. Check us out on iTunes. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Check out our previous live streams. Leave a comment. Leave a like. Also, push the little bell icon to be notified when we're on. We're kind of sticking with a better schedule now. Back to Sundays at 11 o'clock Central Time, which is 5 o'clock GMT, right? Yeah.
Yes, 5 p.m. GMT.
Yeah. So use
Actually,
that.
It's BST. It's British Summertime.
Complete BS, I tell you. So anyways, yeah. Thank you everyone for joining us. And we will see you guys next week.
Thanks for watching, guys.